This is Tabletop Weekly, and we're the partners of Solarian Games.
I'm James.
I'm Jason.
I'm Peter.
And in this week's stories, Hasbro rallies to beat industry growth by 5x. Cosmere becomes the highest grossing TTRPG Kickstarter ever. Time Magazine releases a special all D&D issue. And we have a special guest, Kevin Borup, who's here to talk about the new official Smurfs RPG. Welcome, Kevin.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
All right. So this is our first time having an actual guest. We've had a guest panelist, but you're our first guest. So this is cool. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, great. Well, it's fun to be a first, you know?
Yeah. So you can just join in on everything. We're going to go through the stories first, and then we will talk about some Smurfs. All right. So our first story of the week is about Hasbro. Hasbro has rallied, is the official word, to a 31% year-to-date growth. So this is money talk. We've talked about how Hasbro and Wizards are doing in the past. And yet again, apparently they're doing pretty well because they have outperformed the entire toys and hobby industry so far by nearly 5 times. They've had a 30.9% growth so far this year, and that compares to the industry having only 6.9. So they're doing something right. Apparently, much of that growth was driven by Wizards. And their EBITDA, which is for people who want to know about financial stuff, that's the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, which basically just means this is the money that they can actually do something with. This is money that people actually want to pay attention to. Will be for this year $1 billion. So I guess they didn't go broke.
Nope. That's badass. That's awesome. That's really good for the company. I mean, again, as you guys know, I don't really play D&D, but I'm really happy to see them doing well. So that's cool.
Yeah, and that's for all of Hasbro, the billion. But Wizards and especially new digital initiatives like Project Sigil and the next D&D Beyond, all of these things apparently are a big part of it. And of course, Magic. So a rising tide will hopefully lift all boats.
Yeah, I think so.
There's
room for all of us.
I'm just curious though, and I hate to be. I'm not trying to be the naysayer, so don't throw things at me.
Say nay. Say some nays.
I'm very curious. So if you walk into an Ollie's, because they're here in Connecticut, I think they're in
What's an Ollie's?
Ollie's is kind of like it's a discount store. Like if business has overstock of too many things, they send it to these stores where you can get it cheap. I swear to you, you go into the toy aisle and it's Hasbro everywhere. Like
Sure.
You don't even have to. Yeah, honestly, if you're looking for that Star Wars black action figure, if you're looking for D&D books and box sets, give it about like 4 months, 5 months. Walk into an Ollie's, and you're going to get it dirt cheap. Like,
so you could get your 5th edition set at Ollie's like for like $5 a book.
It was cheap. So during Christmas this year, I bought a bunch of I bought the Dragonlance board game, which they were trying to hawk for like $70. I got them for $10 a piece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like Star Wars figures that, they try to get you for $25 in like a Target were $5.99. So, but anyway, that's my question is if that they're doing so well, why are they shoving a huge amount of their stock to a discount place if they're basically doing a Scrooge McDuck into their like Monopoly money? It's my question.
I think that's actually a really good example of why it's sometimes hard to reconcile popular perception with what's actually happening in the markets, because they clearly have a bunch of things that they've tried that they either overproduced or undersold, or some of these things didn't sell the way they wanted them to, and yet and in fact they had actually some other, if you dig into the numbers, there's some things that are doing well and there's things that are doing poorly, but then the bottom line is that their growth for all of Hasbro is outperforming the market like crazy. and Wizards is growing like crazy. So it seems like they're trying a lot of different things, and some of them are working and some of them are not.
And the stuff that's not working winds up at Ollie's, right?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say, if you're in the Connecticut, Massachusetts area, pop into an Ollie's if you need that one Star Wars figure that you couldn't find. Or
hey, we have them in Maryland. We have Ollie's in Maryland.
Okay, yeah. Go to
I'm
Ollie's.
a bargain hunter. Nobody's told me about Ollie's. I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, I've never been. I'll have to go too. Yeah.
Yeah, now you know. Go to Ollie's, man.
And they have everything there. They have like everything, anything you can think of.
So while we're talking about the industry doing well, let's move on to the next story. And here is, we now have a new champion for the biggest TTRPG Kickstarter ever, and that is Cosmere, which is Brandon Sanderson's new role-playing game. It is a new system, completely new system. It's not built on 5e or anything else. It's actually a whole new system that encompasses the entire universe of his novels. And it is currently over $10 million. Still has 4 days to go. It's projected to hit $12 million for one Kickstarter.
Wow.
And just to put some context on this, Paizo, their revenue for the entire company last year was $12 million. You listen to Zippia, there's other sources that say it was higher, but I mean, because they're a privately held company, so you don't get, you just get analysts guessing. But even if it was higher, even if it was 3 times that high, this one Kickstarter either did as much as all of Paizo for the year, or at least like a third of it. That's huge from one Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Kickstarter themselves are basically putting on their dinner handkerchief around their neck because they're going to get a huge chunk of this.
Well deserved. I mean, if you ran this campaign somewhere else, it would have been less. So that's the marketing budget.
And I think, Kevin, you said this before we went live. I believe it was who said this, is that if it brings people in who are fans of Brandon Sanderson into the industry or into gaming, it's a big win. I think that's the important thing. I mean, a lot of it's going to be collectors who are just going to be like, ooh, Brandon Sanderson, I'm going to buy the big, expensive $400 buy-in thing to put on my shelf. But, I mean, obviously, if there are fans out there that love Brandon Sanderson and want to play in his world, I think that's a big win.
A lot of people come into the hobby. They come in because they see something they like, whether it's, hey, it's Dungeons and Dragons and I want to play that thing. Or now you're going to have folks who really love Brandon Sanderson. They're like, yeah, I want to play Mistborn, right? And they want to do that. And, once they do that entree into the hobby, hey, maybe they'll just play Cosmere in this growing universe they're going to create around the game for the rest of their life. Or maybe they'll look around and go, oh, wait, this is a whole hobby with a lot of different games. I'm going to try some other things too.
Like Top Secret.
Like Top Secret, right?
That's a good game.
So, I think when a big star like Brandon Sanderson as an author and is able to essentially elevate role-playing games and bring in people who maybe hadn't thought of them before, it's good for everyone, right? And just grows the hobby.
Now, Kevin, have you had a chance to see any previews of Cosmere? Do you know what the game system is like?
I haven't, no.
Okay, I'm going to be interested. So for our listeners, Kevin is one half of Analytic Dice. Am I saying that right? It's one half.
You are. Yeah, that's right.
Which I think is one of the best gaming podcasts out there, because you guys actually dig in deep to the mechanics. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward. I hope you guys do something on this. I'm looking forward to seeing how they did.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The way we do it is each of us gets a turn picking a game we've never played before, and we play it. And then, but not on the podcast, right? The podcast is the post-game discussion of how the game went and what were the mechanics like. So, yeah, we'll see. We get a lot of requests, but I'm sure Cosmere will be up there. We'll see how it goes.
All right. So, what is the name of this podcast? Honestly, you just sold me. I'm going to go and
listen. It's called Analytic Dice, and it's monthly. It's just a monthly podcast that we do. It comes out the first of every month, and so we have another one coming out September 1st, and it will cover an obscure kind of game called Overlight. It was produced by Renegade Games back in 2018. We had never played it, so we played Overlight, and we'll talk about that experience.
Wait. Overlay. Is that was
It's a very brightly colored cover.
Yeah.
Kaleidoscopic fantasy, right?
Oh, I think that's the game my friend made. Paul Butler.
Yes, that's right.
So Paul Butler's a buddy of mine. I actually went to Antigua with him once. And he runs one of the best game stores on the East Coast called Games and Stuff. So that's cool. Very cool.
Great.
No,
yeah, we covered it. We played it.
I love that concept, though. And actually, you probably discuss it probably less. I mean, I kind of do the same things. Like I buy a role-playing game, I analyze it for the mechanics, and I bitch about it. So it doesn't fit the positive talk that you probably do. But,
well, James, I think you might remember me bringing it up because I didn't know it was Kevin doing the show. I didn't make the connection in my head. They did a Tunnels and Trolls show, and there were all these ideas in there that I hadn't thought about for Top Secret.
Yeah, you're talking. We have this huge initiative discussion. You called me and go, let's talk about initiative.
Yeah, because I just listened to Analytic Dice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Tunnels and Trolls, I hate to plug anything, but man, folks, if you want to go back old school and try an old game that's different than D&D, Tunnels and Trolls, give it a spin. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and I just wanted to say, you were talking about before that, this 12 million that's Cosmere is bringing in. It's not, it's hardly this new game that's bringing this in. It's Brandon Sanderson who's bringing it in. Like they're backing Brandon Sanderson. But again, like you said, Jason, there's nothing wrong with that at all, because if you've read his stuff and you love him, then you trust that whatever he makes is going to be good. And that is a very reliable way to purchase things, especially at Kickstarter.
Well, I really hope people will be running the games at conventions so that new players will go to conventions for the first time and then discover all the other cool stuff.
I'll definitely sign up for one.
That's a great point about conventions. Now imagine you're bringing in a whole group of fans of Brandon Sanderson to a convention and play Cosmere. That's great. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the last small story of the day, and it is a small one, but pretty cool one. So Time Magazine, I've got to get to the grocery store. I really hope this is in the checkout line of the grocery store. Time Magazine has put out a special issue that is all Dungeons and Dragons. It's for the 50th anniversary, but it's a Time Magazine special edition. Dungeons and Dragons, the game that changed the world. I'm looking at the cover right now. It's just a big D20, and it has some stories in there about, Critical Role, of course, the birth of role-playing, the power of dice. I don't know, Dragons That Heal. I haven't read it yet, but I know that Luke Gygax got interviewed for this issue, so at least we know they talked about the history, and I can't wait to read it.
If you're watching live, we got a picture of the cover of it. Right
now. I'll cover up all the stuff in the background because it's for a different story. But
okay, all right. Well, I'll stop sharing it then.
That's okay. That's all right. So now to our feature of the day. Hanai and I went. That's for listeners. That's my wife. She also illustrates a lot of things for Solarian Games. We went down and had a special treat the other week. We got to play a preview of the Smurfs RPG with Kevin where were we?
We were at the Battle Standard in East Windsor, Connecticut. That's where we played it. And I will say a quick plug for that shop. Great to go to your friendly local gaming store. And the Battle Standard, great place. It opened at a new location. It's really a great experience going in there. I get absolutely nothing for saying that. It's just goodwill.
I agree. It is one of the best gaming stores I've seen. In terms of, they have so many miniatures, play tables set up with amazing dioramas. What do you want to call it?
Terrain and features. Yeah,
there's the word. Yeah. Terrain.
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's a great store set up. In addition to role-playing games, I play Warhammer fantasy, the old world. So, great to set up those armies and get them going. So great place to meet up for that.
Yeah, James, we need to hustle on up there sometime together.
That sounds like, yeah. Was that originally the Time Machine in a different
No,
location? No. Okay.
No. Yeah, different place. So
okay.
But they also have food, and they are getting their liquor license soon.
Oh,
now you're talking.
Yeah, so we had some nice pizzas as we played the Smurfs role playing game, and had a good time tromping around. I guess, what did we take you through time with the Smurfs?
Well, it was the introductory adventure. I'll give my impressions, and then you can tell us a little bit about what the game is like. So I went in with no idea what to expect, because just no idea, right? I remember the Smurfs from when I was a kid, but apparently I remembered a lot when we started playing. It was a very, very easy to pick up game, and Kevin will talk more about the mechanics behind it, but it is based on something that I've bought from him before for a different system, so it was not too hard to pick up. And the game was very fast, easy to learn, but it did not feel lightweight. It didn't feel like a kid's game. You can talk to us about who it's really aimed at, but it felt, I would play this at a con with adults. We had a great time. And there were real consequences to our actions. There was real decisions to be made, some actual cliffhanger moments. And I am a more experienced gamer than my wife is, and yet both of us had, I think, equal amounts of fun.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I did. That's right. We ran the intro scenario. Now I remember.
Yeah, and I was playing. Yeah. Which Smurf did I have? Was it not Brainy? I know Hanai had Jokey Smurf.
Hanai had Jokey, and you had Clumsy. You were
Clumsy. Yes. Oh that's got to be fun, right? Yeah. And one of my favorite things about it was that one of Jokey's power was having those gifts that would explode all the time, and she came up with so many clever uses for exploding Jokey gifts, and they all worked in the game.
Right. Yeah, and it's, you raised the question, like, who's the game for? The game's for folks who want to pick up game and play their nostalgic Smurfs, create their own Smurf, do whatever they want to do, and be able to play a game real quick with friends, right? And do it in 2 hours, 3 hours at most, and play a complete adventure, right? But the rules, Jason, are simple enough. I mean, and easy to grasp. Not that you have to do this for kids. They can play complex stuff too, but anyone can pick this up. I would say all ages can pick up these rules. I know that with this system, I've played a variant of this. I once ran a table of 14 people playing this system. The youngest person was 8, and the oldest person was like 60, right? And we played it. Everyone had a great time. So it's a good system, good flexible system to be able to use. And so the conceit is every you're rolling D6s. It's a 2D6 roll, and you add your dice together. So it's not a dice pool. You're rolling the dice, you're adding them together for a total, and you're trying to get under a target number. Now, sometimes you're rolling 2D6, but it's really hard, really super hard. You might be rolling 5D6. And you're still trying to get under that target number. Most of the target numbers are anywhere from a 4 to, let's say, an 8 or a 9. Usually not bigger than that. So if you're rolling 5d6 and you're trying to get under a 5 and you're adding the dice together, that's tough to do. So the conceit of this game is your little Smurfs, they can spend effort. So when your little Smurfs are spending effort, they spend a point of effort to take a D6 away from the die roll. So let's say it was an impossible task. A clumsy Smurf has to go across a very narrow board off 100-foot like gorge or something.
Oh no!
Very tough. So clumsy's not going to make it, right? There's no way unless clumsy really grits down, maybe crawls across that board, puts in that effort. So Jason, in that case, on a 5d6 roll, might spend 3 effort points to bring that down to a 2d6 roll to give himself a fair shot at doing it. So that's the conceit of the game. Now, Effort's a limited resource. You only have so much effort to spend. And it's assigned to the 4 different attributes you have. So depending on the attribute, if it's one you can only spend effort up to the level of your attribute. So if you have a 4, you really only have 4 effort to spend in that attribute. And then once you do it, everything becomes harder for you if you spend out all your effort. So that's the conceit of the game, and you do it. Now, because it's Smurfs, you also have Smurf power, right? You remember those little Smurfs. Out of nowhere, they defeated Gargamel. Well, you have Smurf power. And what Smurf power allows you to do, it's a blue die with 2 critical faces to it. And when you roll that die, you replace one of the regular D6s you would have rolled, and whatever you roll counts as 0. So it's like taking one away. If you roll critical face forward, then it's a complete super fantastic Smurfy success. And if you fail on the roll and a critical comes up, it's a Smurf catastrophe, right? So, so that's really what you do
a few times during the game. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I got swept away down a river, and now
you did.
And we did get some.
Well, the
Smurf
one
berries.
other thing you can do with Smurf, so just Smurf power, one other mechanic with it. If you have Smurf power, you can also spend it to add a narrative element into the story. So let's say Jason's in that castle trying to get away from whoever's the cat, Azrael, right? And you want there to be a chain holding a chandelier above the table that you can grab onto and swing from. Well, you could spend that Smurf power die if the storyteller hasn't placed it there to say, hey, I think there's a chain there that I can swing on. And you can spend it that way too, to enter a little something into the story.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty good. And you have equipment and all this other stuff too. So it goes on and on. And if you're really good and you're doing great role playing like Jason and Hanai, you get awarded Smurf berries. And you can stockpile those Smurf berries. And anytime you can spend a Smurf berry. And what the Smurf berry does is just increases your target number. So you had a 4 and you're like, this is pretty tough. You're going to spend a couple of Smurf berries. Well, now your target number is 6 instead. So a bunch of different mechanics to mess around with.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It didn't lollygag around too much. We pretty quickly got to the problem, which was Papa Smurf's Smurf mushroom house had fallen into some deep, scary pit. It took us into a magical land. I won't talk about all the things that happened because it is the introductory adventure, and I don't want to give up spoilers. But yeah, it was pretty thrilling.
Cool.
So now this is a licensed game, and for people who remember the cartoon, you might remember seeing, is it pronounced Peyo?
Yeah, Peyo, right.
Peyo. So Peyo is still the owners of the Smurfs. And what is the relationship here?
Sure. And so the company that is producing this game, they're Maestro Media, and they're putting out the game. And I'm one of the creators and writers of the game. My co-creator on the game, my wingman is Jonathan Gilmore Long. Folks know him from Kids on Bikes. And so we worked together, built this game, and Maestro Media is putting it out. And so they've up to this date done a lot of board games, different things like that, a lot of great IP from Hello Kitty to they have the Donald Duck game that they're doing as well. And so they have a board game of Smurfs called Smurfs Hidden Village. And now, of course, now the role-playing game. So the way it came about was I was looking around to see, hey, could I write a game for one of these IPs? And I reached out to the folks in Belgium who control the IP for Smurfs, and they were very interested in it. And so what they did is they hooked me up with the license holder for games in North America. That was Maestro Media. So Maestro said, yeah, this is also, we agree, we think it's a great idea. And we got working on the game to bring it out. So that's really how it all went about. I approached Peyo and they got me in touch with Maestro Media, and that's how we worked on and developed the game to bring it forward.
And how long have you been playtesting it? How did it change from the beginning to now?
Yeah, well, it's been playtested quite a bit. We had a public playtest, so folks could sign up and do a public playtest of it. And some things changed. One of the things is as an example, the Smurf power die, right? When you played it, Jason, actually, it even changed recently. When you played it, it only had one critical face to it, right? To the power die. The problem is through play testing, there's not enough reward, right? The power die 1 out of 6, it doesn't come up enough, and it's a rare resource. So we increase the odds of a critical by adding a second face to it. So that's one change that happened through play testing. I think some other ways that play testing has impacted the game was just thinking about Smurf berries and how they would be used and awarded to reward play. And then in addition, in this game, you can build your own Smurf house. And so each player, in addition to playing the game as they go through, in between sessions, they can add to their Smurf house and add on rooms, that type of thing, using build points. Now, during the game, depending on what room you have, it might give you access to additional equipment or something else going on. And a lot of that and the kinds of rooms that we would put in, again, a lot of that evolved through playtesting.
So James or Peter, if you were picking a Smurf to play, I'll call on you first, James. Which Smurf would you play?
Well, I will give you that, and then I have a question for Kevin. So I think I would be Grumpy Smurf. That is me. I am Grumpy Smurf. That's who I am in real life. But my question is, can you create your own Smurfs in the game?
You absolutely can. And there are 2 ways that you can create your own Smurf. One, you can just sit down with the character sheet and write your Smurf name that you want to be. And then every Smurf has a motivation statement. Like, Jokey's motivation statement is, the best sound is my own laughter. You've got Smurfette. Her motivation is, I will prove that I'm a real Smurf by doing everything that I can to help others. And Brainy Smurf, let's see, do I have Brainies around here? Brainy's actually not in the quick start, but in the main game. And of course, Brainy is out to prove to Papa Smurf that he's the smartest Smurf of them all. And that motivates everything you do. So you'd have to think of, what's your Smurf name? And then, and you're either like Clumsy Smurf, or if you're one from the village behind the wall, then you might be Smurf Willow, Smurf Lily, something like that. So it depends on the naming convention. You'll pick your motivation, and then you can just assign your stats. All the stats essentially add up to, they should add up to 20 in here. And so you assign the stats however you want, and just go ahead. So you can create whatever you want. We have, in addition to just creating it, we have a random generator in the main book. So if you want to just roll for it and see what kind of Smurf you're going to be, you could end up rolling and become Gamer Smurf.
Do you have the random generator right now? Let's get one.
Let's see. I do have it. You want to do one? All right, hold on. I think
while you're doing that, Peter, make up your Smurf.
So if I were to pick one, it'd probably be Hefty Smurf. I like him. He's I'd be like pumping iron all the time. If I were to make
and Hefty Smurf, we actually wrote him out. So Hefty, that guy gets a lifting belt that gives him a +2 to any kind of task, to the target number, any task he would do. And of course, what did he build in his Smurf house already, Peter? What would Hefty Smurf have?
I'd have a gym.
That's right. He has an exercise gym, and once during each adventure, he can recall those workouts in the exercise gym to become energized and regain his Smurf power.
Nice. All right.
Wow. So Hefty has a little bit of, power there. So each Smurf has these unique kind of abilities that are either powered by their equipment or powered through their Smurf house. So it's interesting.
I think it would be fun to play Jerky Smurf. Isn't there was one, right? No, I mean, wasn't there a Smurf that was like I didn't really watch the Smurfs that much.
There was,
I know there was Jokey, but wasn't there one that was like always just like giving people crap all the time? Or was that just Grumpy Smurf?
It might have been just Grumpy Smurf, but
you
yeah,
could
you
make
can
one up.
listen.
But you
I
could
am
make one up.
sure. I am sure at their home table, people will create all sorts of Smurfs that we probably can't talk about on this show.
Oh, I wasn't going there.
I think my
wrong jerky Smurf.
Yeah.
wrong direction.
But
I think I would make death metal Smurf.
Yeah, Punky Smurf.
That would be cool. You know, death metal Smurf who has a guitar.
Yeah, he
right,
gets some shredding ability
and does things with it. Yeah.
Ooh, angsty Smurf. I can have like a list.
Smurf.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to roll one,
I want to do. How about emo Smurf? Emo
Smurf. Yeah.
You could do emo Smurf.
So we could have this depressing Smurf village where everything we wear black hats and like stare at candles. It'd be awesome.
You know what? Hey, my Smurf.
Does anyone have a D6? Does anyone have a D6?
Get one in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I have one here.
Oh, yeah,
I got one.
All right. Yeah, so give me a roll on a D6.
Okay.
All right.
What do you got?
4.
A 4. All right. Now give me a second roll on the D6.
Anybody else want to roll it?
Yeah, I rolled a 6.
Okay, so if we had a 4 and a 6, you would have rolled up Gentle Smurf.
Oh,
that wouldn't work for me.
No, me
so you have rolled up Gentle Smurf. So
that's like that Portlandia skit with the Gentle Music Festival. I don't know if you saw it when they all come in and they just blow a little feather and just kind of. That's the whole music festival.
Jason, we got to play the Smurfs, and we each got to play one of the characters from. Oh, now I'm blanking. Vivian.
The young ones.
Young ones. We each got to play a young one Smurf,
perfect.
like Punky Smurf, Hippie Smurf,
Poet Smurf.
Poet Smurf.
Cool guy.
Poet Smurf's a Smurf. Actually, that's a legitimate Smurf. Poet Smurf.
But it would be the people's poet, Rick.
Right.
Yeah.
Rick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Punky Smurf. I'm Vivian. I told you I'm Vivian.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
And you will see there was at Gen Con, there was an actual play of this that
is it online?
That went on. Not yet. It's not online yet. I think it will be soon. But
how'd it go?
Christian Navarro played Poet Smurf, and and bunch of different, a couple of different folks played different. So Jason Acevedo, he's the one who ran the game at Gen Con. So I viewed it. It was a lot of fun. They had a good time with it.
So who do you think will be playing the game? What sort of audiences?
I think, of course, you have nostalgia folks who remember the Smurfs and want to play it, and maybe have kids or grandkids now who, they'd be interested in playing role-playing games with, and get young kids at 8 years old, 10 years old playing the game with you. Or you go to a con and you join a Smurfs game and roll through it. If folks are going to Shire Con, I will be running a table of Smurfs at Shire Con, we'll see how it goes. I know we were developing the game at the time, but I actually ran it last year at Shire Con too, and had a full table of folks playing the pre-prototype game of Smurfs way back in 2023.
And Peter has put up on the screen for anybody who's on audio only a Smurfs character sheet, which is always a good way to learn a little bit about a game. And I also see that in the chat, Jonathan Reinhardt is here. Yeah. Peter, your co-host.
Yeah.
Let's give him a plug.
Yeah, Jonathan, Wargaming Recon. It's a great podcast. Longest running wargaming podcast ever.
And now you can hear Peter on it every week.
Yeah.
So let's see. We kind of walked through what was on the character sheet before, but let's just do a fast rundown to kind of show. Oh, you took it away.
Should I show it again? I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
We'll just do a fast rundown for what's on here once it comes back.
I got it.
And is there anything that so there's one thing at the top here. So you've got your build points. We talked about that a little bit. You talked about Smurf name and motivation. And then there's the Smurf power. And that is, it just says inactive or active. So do you want to explain that?
You have a special 6-sided die, and you just move it. When Smurf power is active, it means you can use it. Once you've used it, you just slide the die over to inactive, meaning you can't use it until, and there are different ways to regenerate Smurf power. One is just rolling 6s. And until it's active again, you can't use it. So it's a physical way to kind of keep track of that. At the stats, all the stats will have a number between, 4 and basically 8. And you can spend effort up to that number. So as you actually you add in, if you had a quick of 8, you'd put 8 effort into the column next to it and slowly tick off how much effort you've spent. And when you have no more effort left, you're in one stat, then everything becomes a little bit more difficult. You have to have another D6 to every roll. And then when you smurf out on 2 stats, that's it. You're done. You're smurfed for. And, that may be the end of your day with the Smurfs. And because the Smurfs always come back, we have something called a safety roll, and you make that safety roll. And if you make your safety roll number, you end up back in Smurf Village in your bed, safe and sound, with some story of how the other Smurfs got you there. And if you fail that roll, then the next time you begin in a precarious situation, like in a cage above Gargamel's lab, all sorts of things. So that's, that's how that game. With the equipment, again, you have all sorts of equipment you can have, and they each give a bonus to your target number. Every Smurf has a special advantage, and there's more about that in the full rule book on how to customize your own advantage for your Smurf. That's pretty much the rundown. Build points are essentially your experience points, and you use them to improve your stats, to buy more equipment, or to build your Smurf house. So build points can be used a number of different ways.
I am looking forward to playing this more, especially about building a Smurf house. It sounds really fun. So this is going to be on Kickstarter when? How can people follow you and find out more?
The launch page is on Kickstarter right now, so you can look up Smurfs on Kickstarter, and it'll come right up. And then it launches in something like, it'll probably tell you on there, like 8 days, something like that. So very beginning of September.
Oh, that's soon.
Ooh. Yeah, very soon.
Gosh. Are you ready for this ride?
I'm all set. What's great about being a writer of a game is, Maestro Media, great company, great folks. Javon Frazier runs that company, fantastic guy. And I'm sure they'll guide the Smurfs Kickstarter and everything. And Jason Acevedo, all those folks will do a fantastic job with the Kickstarter. I have full faith in them. I'm a passenger on the back, and I'll just be watching.
Well, remember, the number to beat is $12 million.
It's just $12 million.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to believe that the Smurfs could hit $12 million, but I think we have to perhaps have, I don't know, more modest expectations than $12 million.
$12.
I think it's going to do really well. I mean, you've got a
yeah.
good brand name. The artwork is excellent.
I mean, if you could spin the name like branded, like Brandon Sanderson's The Smurfs.
Yeah.
Kind of like Andy Warhol's Dracula. I mean,
Quentin Tarantino's The Smurfs.
I just take my money on that one.
Bad Mother Smurfer.
Right. Yeah, you're not allowed to say any curse words.
Well, and that is again, of course, the beauty of the game, the Smurfs game, and how customizable it is, right? Everyone's going to have all sorts of things they want to do. Think of it, James. Planet of the Smurfs. I mean, just think of what you could do.
Smurf fiction. Oh my God. Like the two Smurfs come in and
and it's great because every sweary scene you just Smurf it.
Is Marcellus Wallace a Smurf?
Yeah.
And that's what the thing about the Smurfs, Stephen, like right now, it brings, even thinking about them doing stuff, brings such laughter to people. They've been great characters, right? And we've been joking about the Smurfs for years, right? They're lovable characters, but they're also characters that we can all Smurf about and say Smurfy things. And, when you're really mad at home and the kids are around, you can always edit yourself with Smurf. So it's there. It's in our lexicon, right?
You do that again, I'm going to Smurf you up.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for being our guest this week. And that's all we have for this week on Tabletop Weekly. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week.